Tonight on #Actors Life Season 2. Eldonie Mason is back, demystifying the roles of managers and agents. It's a full episode of Lawgisitics right now. Gentlemen, to another installment of Lawgisitics with Miss Eldonie Mason. And today we are discussing managers and agents, what they are supposed to be doing for you, like what their limitations are and legally, and if any of this sounds familiar or unfamiliar and with the representation that you have, then you guys probably need to have a discussion. So welcome again, Eldonie.
Hey, always good to be back.
So first up, let's talk, what is the difference? Let's clarify what the difference between a manager and agents are, like what their specific duties are, because I think a lot of people don't know or aren't aware.
Are confused.
Right.
Okay.
That's
yeah, girl. So generally, all right, so let's start with an agent. Mm-hmm. An agent is the one that's supposed to be finding you work, finding you gigs. They send you out on actual projects. Okay. That's what the agents are supposed to do. They're regulated by the state, specifically in New York and California, which is the two you care about, is that you have to know that they are actually required to be licensed. They have to have a license to be an agent. And they could only take 10% of whatever you make on a given project. They're limited to 10%, which is why they're generally called the 10% trees.
Right.
A manager is supposed to be helping you manage and develop your career. You know, they might tell you, they make sure you show up when you gotta go on a shoot, you got an interview. That's what they're doing. You know, they'll discuss with you, okay, where is, what projects might be best for you based on where you want your career to go. So that's their focus. So that's generally the simple main difference between an agent and a manager.
Okay, so managers pretty much guide your career, right? They're
You
more
got
actively involved in where your career is going, as opposed
The
to
day-to-day.
agents. It's just like, okay, I'm gonna just submit you for jobs.
Yes, and I figure your agents still need to have a vision of what you want to do and where you're going, because they can't be sending you out for some project that's like, that's just not vibing with you.
Right.
Because how many times have you seen actors in particular roles and you're wondering, why did you take that one? Like, why are you even in that? I'll chalk that up to the manager and the agent, because why is this person even in there? Because I know sometimes you go outside of your character arc, but there are some roles you're thinking, that one was not for you. And then it bombs at the box office and you're like, I seen that one coming. You shouldn't have been in that one.
Right.
That one was a pass.
Right.
Sometimes it's not all about the money. It definitely is about developing your career. Because a movie might not make as much money, but then you could get rave reviews and get nominated. You ever notice that sometimes these people that be making, it's not necessarily the blockbusters the actors get nominated for, is more like the emotional pieces. Where you could show your arc.
Right.
Your arc of acting. So consider that, people.
Right.
When you're out there getting submitted for stuff.
Right. Well, and that's a good thing. Speaking of submitting, are managers responsible for submitting you for work too, or is it they just pretty much just make sure the agent is submitting you, or how does that work?
Okay, so I know a lot of managers be playing the dual role of agents. Actually, in New York City, that is illegal. Managers are not supposed to be actively trying to find you work unless your manager is also a licensed agent.
Oh, wow.
Right? They're not supposed to be trying to find you work. I know they do, but they're not supposed to. They're supposed to literally be helping you manage and develop your career. Your agent is the one that's supposed to be out there actively trying to find you work, per the law.
Okay, well, so a manager is not, unless they are licensed as an agent, they're not supposed to be submitting you, they're not supposed to be sending you for work?
Exactly. because it's just the way the law is. Like, agents are regulated. The government wants to regulate who's finding people employment, so that's what they do. There's a section in the law that says if a manager is finding you work, it has to be incidental to their role as manager. We're not going to get into the legal technicalities of that because the certain part of the law is not defined what incidental is and what this is. All you need to know is that your manager is not supposed to be acting as your agent unless they're licensed as an agent. So they're not supposed to be actively out there trying to find you work. That's how that works.
Really?
Okay, yes, okay, so really.
Wait, okay, so because I'm just being honest, like you do have a lot of managers out there submitting their clients for work. Like you have a lot of managers who have just like a roster filled with actors and it's just actively just submitting them. So technically they're not supposed to be doing that, right?
No, and I have a question for you, even though you're the one who asked me all these questions. When they submit you for work and you get paid, do you pay them a cut of what you get paid from that job? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, because it's kind of like I guess a booking fee or whatever they call it. So
so they call it a booking fee, and how much percentage is that? If you
15. I'm 15.
So they take 15. All right, people, let me give you a newsflash here. So what Shamira just told me is that the managers, and I'm sure you're a manager that is, managers are actively out there booking their clients or sending their clients, they're calling it a booking, they're sending their clients out on jobs. Right. So they're actively submitting their clients to jobs.
Right.
And then when you get a gig and you get paid, you have to then kick back to them a commission or a booking fee, as they call it, of 15%. If you remember what I just said earlier, is that under the laws, agents are the one that are supposed to be submitting you for work, and when they do, they can only take 10%. Because that's what the law says. They only get 10%. So people, newsflash, guess what's happening? Your manager is knocking you up for an extra 5% and be calling it a booking fee. But wait, there's hope, because there's always hope in these situations. Yes. The law does allow you to get your money back from the manager. If you could go to court and prove that your manager was actually acting as your agent, actively submitting you for work and getting you gigs, and then you're paying them a 15% commission, guess what? You could sue them to get all that money back. And now who has a win-win situation?
Right.
Isn't that a win-win for you? You got the gig and you get to keep all the money because they broke the law.
That is crazy.
Oh, girl.
How would you go about knowing or finding out whether or not your representation is licensed?
If an agent is licensed, because they have to be licensed with a department in New York. I think it's like the Consumer Affairs Division. I could double check on that, and Shamira could post on her blog, and we could put that information up there. But yeah, they have to be licensed with the state. So there's a state agency who licensed them would have a list of licensed agents. And we'll get you that information. I'll get it for Shamira. Shamira will put it in her blog post, so you're gonna have to check that out. Yes.
Right. Oh, and another thing too, I'm from my understanding, agents can negotiate contracts, right?
Yeah, I mean, your agent can negotiate a contract.
Like in terms of like what your pay rate would be with a particular production. Like say if they want you for a project, like your agent can negotiate your pay rate, right?
Yeah, because they're the one that's sending you on the job, right? So they could be like, okay, I'm sending this person over, this is what we want, and then they discuss it with you, right? And then you agree or not to agree together. But the thing is, they can find you work, so they can negotiate your pay. Right. And then so you can always have your lawyer look it over to make sure it's in your best interest.
Right. And see, from my understanding, managers, they can't legally negotiate contracts for you.
Well,
that's what I was.
Well, I don't know about that, because people your manager could look at stuff for you, but at the end of the day, you always have to have your best interest at heart, right? So you want to make sure. Remember, a contract is a legal document. So even if you have your manager looking at it, are you confident in the advice they're giving you to be like, okay, I'm cool, only to find out like years later you're locked into some project and you're like, oh, well, I didn't realize that. So I would say, you could be risk averse and say, all right, I'll have a lawyer look it over, make sure, all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and this is actually in my best interest. So you could just have your manager do it and be like, okay, I trust their judgment. So it's going to be a judgment call. At the end of the day, it's a legally binding document. So whatever it says in there, it's going to be binding on you.
Right.
So if you don't know what's going on, it's behoove you to know what's in there.
Right.
And understand clearly what's in there. And if you're not understanding what's in there, that's why that's the point you might want to lawyer up.
Right.
And make sure you know what's going down.
Right. Oh, and another thing too, and because this is something that it is going on out there. You have a lot of managers who are submitting their clients for work, but they'll have a contract that they'll put in place. Well, pretty much just having the talent or the client give them permission to submit them for work. Like the manager or have the client sign a contract saying, "Hey, I can submit you for work." But is that's not enforceable though, is it?
Excuse me. I just had a moment. Like Shamira had her moment. I'm entitled to my moments too.
All right.
I'm just, there are times when one can be lost for words.
Right, yeah.
We had the discussion that they can't submit you for work. Legally, in the state of New York, in the state of California, which is the big two, they can. And their contracts that say they're submitting you for work and then you're getting the commission is unenforceable. So they could put it in there. But question for you, when the checks come in from these gigs, who the money goes to? Does it come to you or it goes to your manager?
Well, it goes to them and then they cut a contract, cut a
check for you while they take out their fee.
Yeah.
All kind of shenanigans, just breaking all kind of laws out there. I mean, all kind of laws have been broken. Like, really?
They ain't supposed to be doing that either. So, and that's another thing too with management. Say if they have it in your contract, like say if you, if you book a gig yourself, are they supposed to get something? No, okay. Well, I guess that's.
Number one, they ain't supposed to send you no job. And what is in your contract, my dear? Is it in your contract if you self-book, they're getting paid? Is it in your contract?
Well, I was under the impression that, it's not in my contract that I'm required to give them.
Off of gigs that you book.
That I book myself. But, I've been told that, or I've heard that, even if you book a gig, and your management didn't book you on it, or you just booked it solely yourself, you're supposed to, I guess, give them 15% too.
Well, this is the thing with that. When managers are managing you, they're getting commission based on, okay, so this is the thing. Let's rewind and think about how when it's done right, what it looks like, right? When it's done right, what it looks like is that your agent is getting money when you book a gig. Right? So they're getting money because they booked you, they're getting 10%. Your manager, who's supposed to be managing your career, is getting a cut of what you're making when you work, which is 15% because they're managing your career, right? So if you're out there, booking gigs, doing what you got to do. Remember, they're not supposed to be booking you. So in the wide scheme of things, if you are getting work, they're still helping you to manage your career. So that would be your payment. And all, I would love to see what's in the management contract. But then when it's being done right, you see how it makes sense. Okay. But it wouldn't be necessarily to say, okay, they're getting 15% of whatever you're making off of a particular project, because they're supposed to be managing your career, so they're getting paid 15% of your earnings, like what you're taking in, generally speaking, from the sources you're bringing them in. So if we look at it in that sense, then I don't get palpitations about you're out there booking stuff on your own and they're getting a piece of what you're booking. So I think what they're getting at, and I think it's just all this disconnect going on, is that they're not getting paid a salary. So they're only making money when you make money. And to help, because they're out there helping you manage your career. So wherever you make money from, being that they book it for you, which they're not supposed to. When it's done right, they're never supposed to really be booking you. Right. That's your agent's job. So in that scheme of things, then they're just getting paid, 15% out of whatever you're making. You see what I mean? Because that's your income, and they get paid from your income because they don't get paid a salary.
Right.
So then it's a clearer sense, right? And it makes better sense than saying you're at there booking gigs for yourself and then they're getting a cut of that. So I think that's what they're getting at, but they just didn't it's not fully clear in terms of the explanation of how it's going down. But seriously, what it really is that you're not paying them a salary and they make 15% of whatever the trade-off. So this is the trade-off. I come to you, I want to manage you. You're not going to pay me, but whatever money you bring in, I get 15% to help you manage your career. Okay, yeah. So from whatever source you're going out there making money, I'm going to make. During the term of the management contract or whatever, extended term it says, then I'll be making money. In some contracts, you really got to read them because you want to make sure, you don't switch managers and they're still collecting money off of you. That has happened.
Right.
TLC. Right? Yeah. And all the other music artists that try to get out of management deals. Right. So you just got to make sure what's in your agreement. But in the scheme of that, you could see how, yes, they're making 15% of whatever money you bring in. But I think that's the disconnect in the community because they think they're supposed to be booking you. So even though they don't book you, they still get paid.
Right.
Which is they will get, again, when it's done right, they're making 15% of whatever income you're bringing in.
Right. Okay.
Because they're managing you and you're not paying them any salary. That's how they make their money to be helping you along the way. Is when you make money, they get 15. Okay. So that's so that's one level of clarity right there, people. It's not necessarily that on stuff that they didn't send you on because they're not supposed to be sending you on stuff. Is that generally a manager is making 15% off of your income, like whatever you are making, they make.
Say if done right, if you have a manager and an agent, and your agent is sending you out on work, sending you out on auditions, and you book, they get 10% of that, but your manager gets 10%. I mean, it gets 15% also, right?
They get 15%. Yes. So you're looking at when you get your check, 25% is gone.
Right. Okay.
Yes. And you're left with the balance in your pocket. Because one get 10, one get 15. Doesn't matter. You end up with the balance.
Right.
75.
Right. Okay. So pretty much, if done right or when done right, your agent is the one that sends you out on auditions to book you, and your manager is pretty much supposed to be handling all the business type stuff, right?
Yes.
And which leaves you as the talent to just be the talent, right?
Okay. And I'm going to be like, yes and no. Because you never want to just be the talent. You want to be all up in your business. Remember, I think way back in the early of our, at the premiere, when we were talking about you are a business, so treat yourself as such. Right. Yeah. Right. So, yes, you are the talent, but you don't want to just be the talent. You want to know what's going on with your business. Because when you get big balling and shot calling, child, you'll have a personal manager who's at your beck and call doing stuff. Then you'll have the business manager, the one that's handling your money. Oh. Yes, those. You always want to know what's happening with your money.
Right.
You never want to just be the talent. Right. And they be embezzling your money. Didn't we have this conversation in some early episode of Logistics, people? Go rewatch it and find out.
Right.
Rewatch it.
Right.
We mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Of course.
So pretty much your talent manager just is there to make sure that your career is going
according to plan. You know,
so
where you want to be.
Right.
Which is on a red carpet somewhere up for an award. Yes.
Right. So your talent manager is the one that's supposed to be on top of the. Okay, there's a red carpet event going on, so let me make sure the publicist is on their job. Let me make sure the agent is on their job. Let me make sure,
you're showing up for your shoots.
Yeah.
Like, you actually make it to the set on time.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then, as I said, when you're big balling, then you got the business one, and they're making sure the money is coming in, the bills are being paid. But then again, as I say, always check your stuff. There have been issues, even with the biggest people.
There have been issues. Yes. Right. Oh, and that's another thing, too. Say if you're in a contract with your management and you're not happy, you don't feel like they're doing what they're supposed to do, how easy or difficult would it be to get out of that?
Man, what? Let's see what the contract says. Generally, contracts should have terms, meaning the length of time you're supposed to be represented by this person. So if you get a contract and it kind of lock you in and it didn't say you could get out at any time, girl, we got a problem. Because then you got to switch to get out, you know, because generally managers will try to give you like a 3-year term on a management contract, meaning they're representing you for 3 years. And then this is why it's cool to have your contract reviewed because, I mean, if I'm writing one, I'm writing like a termination clause in there somewhere.
Right.
To say like, hey, if you're not doing your stuff and I ain't happy, you're out. Right. And maybe a 2-year period, but I mean, 1 year might be, well, as a manager, they're not supposed to be finding you work. So agent will give you 18 months. You could understand if you're in an 18-month agent contract because then, you know, a year might be too short for them to really get the traction and stuff like that. But do you really want to be in a 3-year management contract? Usually if you're and someone's not getting along, you know. You know.
But isn't there like a 90-day out anyway when you sign with someone?
It depends on what's in your contract, my dear. That's what I'm saying. Because contract is a creature of you could draft it however you want to your benefit. This is why we protect the rights and interests of our clients. Yes, yes, yes.
So the 90-day out, that's not New York state law. That's if it's in your contract.
For a management contract, a 90-day out? I've never heard of that. I mean, I could look right up.
Really? Well, I know for agents it is.
Well, that's different because they're regulated.
Right. For agents, you have a 90-day out.
Remember, because it's like, agents are regulated. So conceivably, you see how that will work. Because they're regulated. Managers are not regulated. Like none. Like the government doesn't regulate managers. You know, other than within the bounds of the law. Like, you know, they're... Right. But generally speaking, there are no fixed set of laws about what agents must do vis-a-vis you. Like, not agents, sorry, managers, right? Because with agents, they could only take 10%. They have to be licensed. They have to follow this rule, that rule, that rule. Agents, managers are like all willy-nilly. This is why some managers could charge you 25%. Upwards like 25% if you're willing to give it to them. Where agents can never charge you more than 10%, because that's what the law says.
One other thing I wanted to touch on too, freelancing, because I know in California, freelancing isn't like a big thing, but that's more of a New York type thing. Whereas in California, they pretty much
exclusive.
They like to have the exclusivity clause, or like, you know, what you sign. Whereas out here, it's kind of like everybody trying to get it. Everybody trying to get their money. So
they're like this. I could have you, and you.
Right.
I get 15% managers. I get 15% here. 5% over here.
Right. So what do you say for artists who have like a couple of different
freelance managers?
Yeah.
You see, I can see the freelance agent because they're booking you gigs, but a freelance manager, that's like a crazy one, right? Because like, how many people are they freelance managing?
Right.
And if so, how much like time are they really spending to develop you?
Right.
And not the 50, 20 other people that me freelance on just to make a buck.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right. You can that's see. The thing. I don't think they're really trying to develop careers. They're just
trying to make that money. Which is not the managers for you, because then, and that's, you know, the managers who are trying to make the money are the one that are submitting you left, right, and center because it's quick money, which they know they're not supposed to.
Right. It's just, and it's another thing too. Something that's really popular. It's a endless roster of talent.
Oh yes.
Because
everybody's trying to make it and get get to that.
Right. Where
to that major.
A lot of I guess. Management companies out there who just don't say no to anybody. You can send them anybody and they'll say yes, they'll take them.
If you are still an unknown artist, your manager better be out there trying to figure out how to get you FaceTime or get you in places where the big balls and the shot calls be rolling.
Right.
They can't just be sending you out on all like, you got to get some money. So in the time you're side hustling, going on this little gig there and here, they're supposed to be developing you as a talent. So are they getting you into the room? or at least getting you to places where you could be hanging around with the A-list types. Just like hanging. I mean, you could be having a conversation. The best way to get discovered is be somewhere that somebody is at. You could have a conversation. Sure. You could walk with them with your acting skills. Not like acting that way. You know what I mean. Just like, you leave an impression. Right. It'll be like, and they're doing some shit like, I met this person. It is better than any social media post, little clip, whatever it is. Not like old school FaceTime, being right there in the room with the movers and shakers. I'm just saying. So the managers has to be doing something outside of sending you on gigs, which you're not supposed to be doing anyway, to actually developing you as an artist, developing your craft. What are you doing in the time you're waiting for that big break? Like, how are you arcing and developing, and what projects are you attaching to that, even though it might not be a big break, but it's create some buzz for you. It might end up in Sundance, and you're getting a little buzz here, a little there, that you could leverage into a bigger project, and then the bigger project, and then there we go, we're big ball and shot calling now. I'm just saying. So if they're not doing some kind of development, and you're not getting that from them, and you just feel like they're trying to cash cow you, which they're not supposed to, then you need new management. Right. And a manager could either make or break your career, because a bad manager will screw up your career fast before it gets started. Right. So choose wisely, vet people.
All right. With that being said, I thank you so much. I think that brings this edition of Lawgisitics to a close. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to send us any questions that you have. actorslifecasting@gmail.com. Also go to #actorslife.com, and you can post a comment, and we'll also be posting those facts about
you're gonna have to remind me. We'll watch the tape.
Definitely. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Later. Peace.
#ActorsLife Season 2 will take a brief hiatus and resume in the fall. In the meantime, stay up to date on the latest industry news by following our blog, The Breakdown, at #actorslife.com, and by following us on any of our social media platforms at ActorsLife1. Be sure to like and subscribe.